Anyway, so here we are. Post-pandemic in the United States of America, we have completely defeated COVID-19 and eradicated all trace of it from the face of the earth.
Is that what you understand?
That's the reality I choose to live in.
Well, you are in Nebraska after all, and that's not uncommon there. No, the reason that we've been delayed in issuing a new episode is because I tried to do my own IT work. That was a mistake. I see that now.
How bad was it?
It was very bad. What happened was I thought I had a backup before I wiped a hard drive, and then it turns out that I hadn't backed it up. And you know why I hadn't backed it up? Because the stupid fucking program I use, the default on this program is not to back everything up. Why would you have a program that is a backup program that doesn't automatically back up everything?
Is that program on a Linux system? Is it because Linux sucks?
Yes.
Just checking.
And, some of those porn videos, you can't find them anymore, They're just gone.
Not unless you want to get a Tor browser, get back on the dark web like the old days. No,
Sure.
Who wants that? No
Even
one...
the vanilla stuff, just that one that you really liked from 6 years ago, you're just not going to be able to find it despite having, all the keywords, all the actors and actresses, the producer, the studio. Spend all night doing research, and it's just gone.
Forever.
And you wonder, how can that be? They tell you once you put something on the internet, it's on there forever. And they'd say that when you're flipping off a camera with your hair dyed black in 2004, let alone a recording of two people fucking. Somehow that's gone now. I guess it's just lost in the endless maelstrom of pornography.
A shin show.
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 A shin show. But I'm more concerned about the fact that all of the raw material for our shows, all gone. That's okay. I mean, I didn't promise anybody a non-fungible token out of them, but there's stuff that's irretrievable.
Actually, I think we did promise people non-fungible tokens from them, so I think we did on a previous show.
Oh, that's true.
We did, but it's gone now, which means it didn't happen.
So when you listen to those former episodes and then hear this one on the cloud, just know you never heard it the first time, okay?
Whatever you thought was coming through your headphones or your speakers, just know that it was actually psychosis instead.
Very true. But obviously the computer system is now working better than ever, and we're all back in business, and so that's all good news. But, you had an issue yourself. I lost 300 gigabytes of data. You had losses of your own.
Me? Are you talking about me? Yeah, I lost my wallet with everything in it. Every single fucking thing. My ID, my military ID, so when you come back into town, we're going to have to do that.
For sure.
Hooray! That's a fun family activity. We can trudge our asses onto Offutt Air Force Base. Not that that's where we would go, but if it were, that's where our asses would trudge.
Sure, as they've trudged before.
Sure, to sit in a lobby and, take horrible pictures.
Which is what we do.
Actually, though, having seen y'all's last military ID cards, I gotta say it's probably for the best. You're getting a chance to take a mulligan on that.
Oh, you thought the last one was bad. Just wait.
I'm looking forward to your next driver's license picture, too.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a thick parka and then put my ass, get in it upside down so my ass comes out of the hood and my legs are where the arms should be, and put a little toupee on there.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Do you think the airman that is going to take the picture sitting 18 inches away from you at her little desktop computer there, do you think she's going to be fooled by that?
I don't think she'll be fooled, but she'll think it's funny and appropriate,
Oh, sure. She'll laugh seeing your asshole.
Seeing my entire asshole opened into
Gross.
her eye.
With a toupee on it.
Real eye
It's
to
funny.
eye, if you will.
Indeed.
Sure.
We'll look forward to that. That's a whole new reason to come to town.
I mean, I also had $400. What was more important was the $400 that was in the wallet at the time, which I normally don't ever do. But that time, the one time that I'm going to lose my wallet, that's the night that I decide that it's okay to have copious amounts of cash in my wallet.
That's the best time to lose a wallet, isn't it?
It is. Really makes it ripe. Someone came up. Whoever the fuck found it, because, I went and looked for it. They came up. I bet they were like, ooh, wee, $400.
Right. I'd been happy about that. But you know what? I'm a nice enough guy to say, hey, look, I found your wallet. without any money on it. But I figured you'd want your
I wouldn't
ID
even
back.
really be that mad if someone was like, listen, I found your wallet, but the money's gone. And I'm like 99% sure they took the money. I'd still be like, you know what? Thanks for giving me back. I mean, it just would have been such a bitch to have to cancel my debit card, go to the DMV, apply for another driver's license, get another military ID. It would be a huge fucking bitch and a half to have to do all that. So thank you for making it so I don't have to do that, which I did have to do and did all of.
Once upon a time, I left my purse unattended for a moment at a Walmart near you during Christmas season with $400 in it, just like you. And it was my Christmas money. And yep, it was gone. Now, thankfully, by the time I made a report, an employee found my wallet with literally all of my other shit. They just took my money and ran. So thanks. She did me a solid. It was the
That's
Christmas
nice.
spirit.
It's something at least.
That is a Christmas miracle when you think about it. Speaking of miracles, today's reading from Experiencing God Day by Day goes as follows. Remember this, the person who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and the person who sows generously will also reap generously. So, you've sowed some karma, man.
All right. We're reading today out of the Book of Generalized Platitudes, Volume 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say a bunch of general archaic bullshit that could be seen as possibly, metaphorically profound. If you do this, this'll happen type deal. Anyway, here we go. Page 83. Those who expose their assholes to airmen who are trying to take their military identification picture will be greatly rewarded in Valhalla. So saith Cthulhu.
Right, very close.
It's right there in plain English, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. I guess it's safe to say this little prank of mine is sanctioned all the way to the top.
No question about it. It says so right here in black and white. Well, in addition to that, though, we had an incident during our hiatus that took place that I think is going to shock even you, Nick, and you're hard to shock. So we had some friends over. You know these friends. These friends of ours, I've known them for 11 years. More.
Their names are and that's their names.
That is true.
Let the record reflect, I'm married into these friends.
I knew them when I was a kid and they were fine. They were just two normal people. I mean, there was a lot of talk about we're trying to have a kid, which I guess they succeeded. And I was like, hey, I'm 12. Can we go in the other room and talk about your failed attempts to impregnate your wife? I think I'll just excuse myself out the back door and play with your dog, who does not talk about these things. Anyway.
Do you think
continue.
he was maybe just humble bragging about all the sex he was getting to have?
Yeah, probably. To
Probably.
me.
To a 12-year-old, sure.
In a broom closet.
I get laid a lot. Are you aware of that? Anyway.
I'm crushing it out here. You get me? You see these Oakleys? $250.
Well, that didn't happen. But what did happen was now they have children, indeed. One's an 8-year-old boy, and the other one's a 5-year-old girl. Delightful looking on the outside. But then
Why are you checking out kids?
I said delightful looking, not sexually attractive. What are you trying to do? Get us banned so that literally less than no people can hear us?
Yes. We've already been banned in some places. I'm trying for more.
Yeah, one of
We
them
are
was,
banned in Syria, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
We are banned in Syria.
That's pretty fucking cool.
We ran afoul, and North Korea as well. We ran afoul of copyright law in Syria and North Korea. That's the truth.
so strange.
But it happened.
You would think they got other problems, you know what I mean, to worry about than banning a shin show.
You bet. Civil war, famine, who knows?
Genocide.
They have nothing more to worry about than social media. They don't want the free will and thoughts of their people to happen.
Yeah, our program is probably something that should be banned by any dictatorship or just anyone. But that's not the point.
We're pretty anti-America on this podcast, you know what I mean? Well, I am.
You are. I'm, red, white, and blue.
But I'm also anti-everybody. It's not just America. I don't want America to feel singled out here.
We're going to circle back to whose names
Great people.
Whose names I'm going to bleep, and their children. We're going to get back to that. But in the meantime, let me simply say that on the subject of being the world's greatest American, which I am, I just heard this week that there's some kind of backlash about teaching, quote-unquote, critical race theory. And the critical race theory issue is that teaching that America was based on racist values. How can you argue that? How can you ban the teaching of that fact? I don't understand that. And the fact that people are trying to ban that is itself a reflection of our racist past.
I'm still stuck back at you're the world's greatest American. So are there people outside of America that are better Americans? Like, is that really a competition that exists?
The world's second best American is a guy from Somalia, and he's a pirate. But, he really wants to live the American dream, and maybe he will. Through a series of hostage negotiations. You remember that story of that guy who bought a paperclip on eBay and kept trading it until eventually he bought, like, Gene Simmons' house or something?
No.
Something like that. Could be that's some shit I saw on the internet in, like, 2005, back when everyone really thought if it was on the internet, it was true. Anyway, I'm just saying this American patriot pirate from Somalia could, through a series of hostage negotiations, trade up into
being the world's greatest American.
Yeah, into American citizenship.
Right. But at the same time as certain states are shutting down critical race theory, which of course is a very important topic and discussion and issue, at the same time, the Netherlands have come out. So the Netherlands were always anti-slavery within their border, but they're finally admitting that a large chunk of the slave trade is all their fault, that they were very critical in creating this whole concept that we now, look back at as
we're talking about
transatlantic slave trade.
Yes, thank you.
And we're talking about the Dutch and the transatlantic.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask who
trade.
I don't know exactly who's all included in the Netherlands, but if we're talking about the Dutch, yeah, they're bad people. Well, I'm not going to say all Dutch are bad people, but yeah, they were essential. Listen, before there were any slaves being shipped overseas to the Caribbean islands and Bolivia, what's the other one? Honduras and shit. The Dutch were doing it in Indonesia, slaving people to death for that sugar.
And once it was valuable, that rubber.
And that's a whole different fucking story, it was terrifying.
But the important thing is that they're finally now really owning that as part of their culture. And they're like, sharing that they're ashamed of it. And they're putting in a whole new museum about like, hey, yeah, no one thinks of us as being these bad people because we're in the Netherlands. Nobody knows where the Netherlands are.
We got
and
clogs
it seems
on.
Nice, right?
We're wearing clogs. We don't take slaves. Come on.
In our borders, we're very cool.
Good for you, Netherlands. But here in America, we've never apparently ever done anything racist. So,
slavery didn't happen, and if it did, it had to, and if it didn't have to, it needed to, and if it didn't need to,
it was gonna anyway. And
someone was gonna do it, and if they weren't gonna do it, someone else would. So it might as well have been us.
Not that we did it, but if we did do it, we had really good reasons for it.
USA.
The fact that people won't teach critical race theory is absolutely appalling because, of course,
you just need to ask yourself why do these people not want it taught? Do they really think that it didn't happen? Is that what it is? They don't want false information being taught? Is that why we think these people don't want this to be taught? Or is it because they have a vested interest in making sure that the youth, which will be the motherfuckers taking care of them when they're old, don't understand how bad the people right now shit the bed?
Well, let's do a thought experiment. Why don't you interview me as if I'm a person opposed to this concept, and I will explain to you why it's a bad idea.
Okay, all right. You're a parent at the school board meeting. I'm on the school board. Okay, Mr. Shin, we have a petition here from you to a motion filed to stop teaching race inequality or whatever. It's just racism and swastikas written on here with a big circle with a line through it. I'm guessing you don't want us to teach about racism and colonialism in America.
What I'm talking about is much more insidious. It's putting our history under an unfair lens. And look, these were different times and different people doing different things that were perfectly acceptable and logical in their time. Who are we to now say that their behavior was inappropriate, illegal, or, in the worst case, even genocide or criminal?
Mr. Shin, I'm going to stop you right there. Now, I'm going to be honest. As the school administrator for this county's district, I've been on my phone this whole time. I've been looking at emails. I've not been listening. But we're just going to go ahead and pass this motion.
Because I'm
Racism did not happen.
All right, thanks.
Court is adjourned.
Anyway, that's the argument.
Look, no matter what they're teaching these fucking kids in elementary schools, first off, The whole standardized testing thing makes education a joke. Does it even matter anymore what we even fucking teach these kids? I remember the best teachers in elementary through high school are the ones who teach you how to take a standardized test. They know, like, listen, I can't teach you what really happened. I have to teach you what's on these state administered standardized tests, because if you don't pass this, I'm going to get fired, you know? So instead, I guess I'm just going to teach you how to take standardized tests, little tips and tricks you can use, you know, to find the answers and other questions and things like that.
Shout out to you, Mr. Cowan.
What?
I had a teacher who was like, oh, you want to do as good as possible on the ACT or SAT, even if you're drunk or hungover? Just do C and H on everything. And the middle option is the most prevalent, shows up the most often. You'll at least do better than if you just totally fucked up.
Nice.
And that's how she got a 19 on the ACT.
That's not true. I had a very high score. But he also said, you know, if there's any question you don't know the answer to, also just fill in C, because you're more likely to guess it correctly.
I got a 12 on the ACT.
That's not true. I remember your ACT score coming back. It was a 27, as a matter of fact.
That is correct. It was a 27. And you know what's funny is you used to make me study for the ACT. And what I would do is I would wait until you left the room, look in the back for all the answers, you know, make a couple of them wrong, and then, you know, just pretend to study. And really, it was far more effort to pretend to study than it would have been just to study.
Of course.
But that 27 really made me feel good, because I was like, I did not study at all for this fucking ACT, not even a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that. In fact, you felt so good about it that you told me about that after I told you what you scored. And you said, ha, ha, motherfucker, I didn't even study. You remember that? You probably don't.
I do. But listen, let's get back to your shit-ass... Well, listen, these people, they're great people. Salt of the earth people.
Let's
Sure.
get back to these people.
They're
And I'm just doing this because that's going to be longer beeps.
It is. It sure is. So we invite them over.
They invited themselves over.
Is that true?
Are you
It
serious?
is true. Yeah.
So they invite
Well, hey,
them.
they're good-natured people.
They
you know,
are.
They invite themselves over, old friends. You know, it's
Sure.
going to be a good time.
Exactly right. And I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to see their kids. Hey, at least they're not bringing their dog, right? So they bring their kids. And, oh, surprise, in addition to the 1 8-year-old male child that they bring, they also bring another 8-year-old male child. And these two kids together are just hell on wheels. They're screaming and running and throwing and...
It was not that bad, dude. Calm the fuck down.
It was pretty bad.
It was not. And
Well-
I fucking hate kids. It was not that bad.
Well, they were...
At first. Until it was.
Well, we had to put them outside at a certain point, and so they're outside.
At this point, the two rapscallions are running around. You're like, I wish he would have brought his fucking dog.
Exactly, but they're outside where presumably they can do very little harm. Well, the 5-year-old daughter wanders in and narcs off the boys. She narcs them off. That's what we would call it when I was a kid. She spills the fucking beans. And here's the beans that she spilled. What did she say? Pooped and threw it
I feel
at
like I
Alex.
should tell the story.
All right,
I feel
fine.
like I could tell the story better.
I'm sure. The kid threw shit. He shit in the yard, then picked it up like an orangutan and threw it at his playmate. He threw it at him.
Yeah, listen, that child needs to be executed. You botched it. You botched this one. You go ahead and start over.
Now, look, I understand the desire to...
The tactile temptation, if I may, of a good, coiled, tightly wound turd. Freshly squeezed into my... Just out in a yard.
In my yard, as a matter of fact.
I'm a little poop shy in a gas station bathroom, let alone a man I don't know's backyard. In like a well-to-do neighborhood where people may or may not be outside. I mean, I'm 25 years old, so.
Certainly a middle-class neighborhood. That's what I'm focusing on. Anyway, look, when I get word of this, I'm sitting in a chair in my living room. Across from me is and, you know, he's 2 or 3 margaritas into it at this point, maybe 4.
Well, they're margaritas, so that really should have no bearing on his judgment. I mean, what is he, 18?
Well, he makes a strong margarita.
Oh, okay. By margarita, you mean it's just all tequila and like a little splash of the margarita mix.
Well, I'm not saying
He's
what
just
it
got
was.
a fifth of tequila in his hand, just drinking it straight out of the bottle and chasing it with margarita mix.
More or less.
This is homemade margaritas.
It was something like that. But he was very, very comfortable. Let's put it that way. He's like, more or less, his approach was, would you say, hon, boys will be boys?
He just put his hand on his forehead and shook his head no. Meanwhile, I'm laughing hysterically. And the mom simply hands the young man a bag and says, well, now go pick it up. Now, mind you, there's no supervision of this process. And we have 2 large dogs. So whether or not he actually picked up his own shit or random dog shit, which also leaves me perplexed about if you just want to throw shit at your friend, there was shit there available
Right.
for you, already dry, convenient.
He wanted a domestic product.
Right. Anyway, so who knows what shit he brings in. But next thing I know, he's coming back into my kitchen with this bag of shit. And he's going to put it in my kitchen trash. At which point she stops him and is like, no, that needs to go in the bathroom. Now, again, no supervision. So did he just throw the whole bag in my toilet and flush it? Do I have a bag of shit somewhere in my plumbing? I don't know. I'm afraid to find out.
You're gonna find out here soon if that's the case.
All I know is it required all of my Buddhist training to remain calm and not say, to just look at him and say, so what the fuck, dude? Are you going to beat his ass, or are you going to talk to the lad? Have a conversation? A frank?
You didn't even talk to him?
Nope. Nothing. That was it. The entirety of punishment was go pick it up. And then they hung out for another 4 hours. So
my God.
then when it's time to leave, says to all the kids, okay, you need to go to the bathroom before we leave. And the young boy's friend said, right back to her, no. And
No,
so,
bitch. How about that? Because I'm running the show now.
right. So they deal with that and send all the children away. And while this boy's in the bathroom, she and proceed to be like, oh, he's just so bad. And he'll say no right to his parents and they don't do anything. And all I can think is, yeah, but he just had shit thrown at his face a few hours ago, and that seemed okay. So why shouldn't telling Uni seem okay?
Yeah. Oh, he's so bad. His parents, I mean, what, do they even not try? I'm sorry. Did we not just experience together as a unit an incident of fecal launching here? Your child threw his shit. He dropped his pants in my back fucking yard and shit in the woods like an ape and threw it at his equally apish friend. And he's the bad one? Your kid's a psychopath. You need to put the diodes on that motherfucker and get deep into the psychoanalysis because he's fucked.
Well, anyway, that
Pretty
happened.
soon you're going to be hearing stories about him killing squirrels with a BB gun, but then it doesn't end there. He cuts them open and taxidermies them with his own shit.
Nice.
These fucking kids.
The point, though, is that I've never had that happen in my experience. I've never had a child of a guest of mine.
What would you have done if you took me as an 8-year-old? That's the other shocking part. This kid's 8 years old. I mean, what the fuck? What if I, at 8 years old, went to one of your esteemed colleagues' houses with you, and then I did that? What would you do?
Remember that time you and Sarah and myself, we went to my boss? He lived on a private lake. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we
I
went
do.
to his private lake and he took us fishing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Ken something?
Ken, absolutely.
Yeah, he made a weird pass at me on Facebook not that long ago.
Did he really?
Well, years ago now. Now
Okay.
it was fucking nearly I mean, I was 18, 19, or 20. I was a legal adult. But he just sent me a message on Facebook hey, Nick Shin, it's me, Ken. I'm your dad's old boss. Remember me? I got some beers if you want. He didn't say that part, but he was like, look, you're a full-grown man now. That's crazy how big you've gotten. It probably was, just an old man being innocent on social media, but I was like, this dude's trying to fuck me. That's what I took it as.
Well, here's what would have happened if you, at 8 years old, would have shit in Ken's yard when he was trying to take us fishing. I would have taken you by the scruff of the neck and drowned you. That's what would have happened.
That's a bit extreme.
Okay.
And yet
Well, no,
warranted.
that would seem
Warranted.
appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, I guess I'd have been watching you. That's one thing. I guess
Yeah.
I'd have had my
Yeah.
eyes on you.
Prevention is better than cure. You know what I mean?
I can't believe anybody would need to watch an 8-year-old to make sure they don't drop their pants, shit in somebody's yard, and throw it. You would like to think that you don't have to supervise that closely at a certain point.
But that's, if you're operating under the belief that this 8-year-old is not Hannibal Lecter,
Or not a chimpanzee. I saw on Reddit, and so it's true, that there was this couple some years ago, let's say 50 years ago, maybe it was 1947. They brought a chimp into their home.
Already, great idea.
Well, they were a couple of psychologists, and they were trying to
Okay. Trying to dive into the mind of this ape. All right.
Yes, exactly.
What year was this?
It's 1947.
Oh, okay.
So there weren't these advances in neuroscience. They didn't have MRIs of a chimp's brain.
Fuck no, they had none of that. They had no business trying to scramble a fucking monkey's eggs. We don't even in the 40s? You kidding me?
Well, so a lot
They
wasn't
didn't even
known.
believe the mind was real in the 40s.
Well, they did, but what they did was they brought this 10-month-old chimp into their home with their 7-month-old son, and they raised them side by side. Their son's name was Dennis, apparently. Anyway, they raised this chimp alongside their son, and they did that for about a year and a half, 2 years.
With no incident, eh?
Well, not only no incident, but the chimpanzee early on tested higher in developmental scores than their own son did.
Then a little stupid-ass kid. Maybe their kid was just a fucking idiot.
You can't rule that out.
You can't rule that
Spending
out.
all this time with a fucking monkey, for Christ's sake.
You fall to the lowest common denominator, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the point that the kid is like 2 years old, they begin to see, hey, this ape, turns out this chimpanzee is never going to talk. This chimpanzee simply doesn't have the proper development to talk. And so at that point, they return the chimpanzee to the research center in Florida from which they had gotten him.
Where they promptly beat it to death with clubs for its failure.
Well, the chimpanzee did not last long. He lasted about a year before he died of being unable to reassimilate into the chimpanzee herd, obviously.
Yeah,
Or what-
a.k.a. had his face and genitals ripped off by others like him.
Well, he didn't live long anyway. And so the child of the psychologists took his own life when he was 43.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, but does that have anything to do with his first year of development? Or is it just a side story that he shot himself or what the fuck ever?
The side story in this situation would be that he was raised with an ape, probably not that he blew his brains out. That's the side story in the grand question of why did he blow his brains out. Maybe it was, though. But at that point, listen, if the ape hadn't lived longer than like a year afterwards, so what, the kid would have been like 6 when the ape died?
No.
And he kills himself at
No.
43?
No. The kid is like 3 years old when the ape dies. The kid probably doesn't even remember any of this.
Yeah, right.
So it's totally unrelated. But here's the point, that chimpanzee has been reincarnated into the body of and now living amongst people again did the first thing it could think of.
And his name's you know?
There's that.
Look, here's what the Lord says about it.
Why do you have that fucking book? Who wrote that? What is this?
Who wrote it? Son,
God.
thank you.
God.
Almighty God. Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And you, when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers.
So,
What the fuck are you doing right now? Is this a bit? Are you reading out of this thing
Yes,
all
of
the
course.
time?
Yeah.
That's it. It's a bit.
So in this scenario, is the devil like your older brother and is God like your mom or dad like, you know what? Your older brother's going to beat the shit out of you for a while, but I wish you well. I'm not going to intervene.
The devil hath said to Matthias on the eve of Lent, should the day arise that thy own child fling its own feces when it cometh to the age of 8 revolutions around the sun, then take thy child and strip him of all his flesh whilst his heart still beats, and fling thine own feces upon the open wounds. Amen.
Leviticus 6:12. Amen.
Speaking of throwing shits, 2 nights ago I had a splitting headache so bad that I went to take a shit and it hurt my head to take the shit. You know how it goes.
Aw, that's so sad.
Yeah,
I
I do
know.
know how that goes.
And I'm like, oh man, this is fucking terrible. Finally get done. I get up and look, as every man does, maybe woman, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for women here.
Am I supposed to speak? I check out my shit. I want to know, am I healthy or not? And
I think
you
it's
only
weird
know.
to not look. You're going to not look, not even once.
That's a
not
lack
even gonna
of
see.
self-awareness.
Anyway, I looked at it and it was just a solid 12-inch log. And I'm like, see, now this shit right here is one that like you'll want to reach in and grab. You just want to handle it. It just looks like a bow staff handle. You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
want to see if it's solid. Will it break apart? Will it survive the extraction from the water?
It's so funny you say that, Nick, because those were the exact thoughts I was having when I was 3 years old, and I grabbed that piece of shit out of the toilet and showed it to my friends.
Yeah, you get curious sometimes. Now, I didn't do it.
Yeah, because
It
you're
was-
not 3 years old.
No, but I was tempted. There was a slight I'd be lying if I said there wasn't just a small flicker of temptation to grab it, see how she handled.
Well, congratulations on resisting that urge.
I just recently did get the luscious feeling of poop right, like, on my hands, because we've gotten used to not having to take shit bags with us when we walk the dogs because we've got this roll that's on Benjamin's leash, so it's just always with us. But we walked only Lily, and we're not thinking about the bag situation until we needed it. But luckily, your father had been eating a popsicle and still had the wrapper.
Oh my
So I
God.
had to use this popsicle wrapper to cradle the shit, which was a big one for her, by the way.
Wow. Wow,
Like
that is
burrito
impressive.
it. So I did get it on my thumb and my finger a little bit. Was not appreciative, but thankfully it had recently rained and the grass was wet.
Just a quick suck, just a finger licking good, and then it's gone.
Right.
Here's the TLDR of that story. Wife had to pick up dog shit, used my empty popsicle wrapper to do it.
Where was this dog shit deposited? Was it directly on a trail?
No, it was in a neighbor's yard.
Okay. All right.
We
Yeah.
couldn't just walk away from the shit.
Yeah. Your hands were kind of tied there.
We could have walked away from it, but we'd have been real dicks, and if anybody had seen it, we would be reported to the Homeowners Association, rightfully so.
God. The homeowner's Gestapo.
No,
would
even-
kick in your door and kill you.
Even worse, they would post it to the Facebook group for the neighborhood.
Oh no.
That's worse than
The
having your...
poor children.
Who will take care of the children? No, it's worse. What they would do is they would take a picture of the shit, obviously. Then they would upload it along with our names and say, these people
How
who
would
are...
they know it was you?
How would they know it was us? Well,
Yeah.
we're the only people who walk a collie in the neighborhood. We'd be obvious.
Well, that's not true. Actually, I was going to say that would be a distinguishing feature were it not for the fact there are 7 other collies in this neighborhood.
There are, but
Okay.
there are only...
So what, the owner of the fucking shit in the yard would come out, drop to one knee, take a little sample, smell it, and be like, this is from a collie. Must have been
Yes.
those goddamn shins.
No, I mean, I'm saying that they would be eyewitnesses. They would see us walk off. They'd see our dog take a shit. They'd
They would
see
have
us...
a grainy Sasquatch-like photo of you trying to, mid-stride with the dog trying to hide your face poorly with a baseball cap.
Yes, that's exactly what they'd have. And then they'd upload that to Facebook. And the point is, that would be worse than having jackbooted thugs kick in your door and drag you off to some mythical dog poop leaving re-education camp.
There's no camps, there's only centers. Okay?
That's right. Re-education center. That's right.
We at the HOA are very particular about our vernacular.
That's true. It's like that picture I showed you one time of the Uyghurs Vocational Retraining Center, which just happened to look exactly like a maximum security prison.
Yeah, see, the HOA doesn't interrogate you, okay? They interview you. You get it?
Sure, and after they interview you, they'll determine your level of education.
The level of re-education required to admit you back into respectable society.
Exactly. Anyway, nobody wanted that. That's why she used my popsicle wrapper in order to make a burrito out of the shit.
Big props. I mean, you say you would be a huge dick for just leaving it and walking off, but I witness that every fucking day in my beautiful, idyllic apartment complex.
Well, I'm not throwing any judgment out there. I'm just saying that our neighborhoods might not be exactly the same type of neighborhoods, nor with the same type of neighbors. So there might be a few less Gladys Kravitzes out there in your neighborhood. I recognize that that's an old callback right there, and people your age might not appreciate that, but
Oh, that's Lenny Kravitz's wife, right?
Exactly. Gladys Kravitz.
Yes,
Everyone knows
exactly.
that. She used to be
Yeah.
a model. Gladys Kravitz.
She was in the Hunger Games.
Sure.
She
Anyway,
wrote the
no.
Hunger Games.
The point is that, yeah, we got nosy neighbors, man. I'm a nosy neighbor. I like looking out my window at the other neighbors. You know why? Because it gives them the creeps, and I enjoy that.
Yeah. If I see an open window, like at night or any time of the day, if I see an open window, I'm looking. I'm looking
Sure.
in.
me too. That's why I close my blinds. The instant it's darker outside than
Right?
inside, it's
Taylor
gotta
just
go.
loves to have them fuckers wide open, and we're on the ground floor. I'm like, dude, people are looking in here. You know that, right? We're being watched like zoo animals. You understand that?
Yeah.
Anytime that I'm outside, you're standing there right with me. You see that I look right into anyone's windows. How could you not?
Get your shit together, Taylor.
And she's like, I like the sunlight. And I'm like, well, you got to weigh that against how much you like strangers knowing every detail of our personal lives.
She surely doesn't have the windows open at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, bro. Are we doing a voyeurism exhibition here?
I don't know the answer to that question, but it does seem to me she would want to close the blinds. Did you know that we have 3 dogs with us right now?
How many do you own? How many do you have the title to?
1. I have 1 dog.
Why do you have 2 auxiliary dogs?
Well, Brad's girlfriend, as you know, Hattie, lovely gal.
One of them's hers. What's the other one?
The other one is a loner dog. It's a dog that we're taking care of. And this dog is also a collie. We're now
For
at 2.
who and why?
For our neighbors, this is a good point.
Wasn't that a year and a half ago? I remember you telling me this about a decade ago.
Telling
that
you
your
what?
neighbor needed you to watch their dog for a little bit, and now they skipped town.
No, I don't remember that. I don't recall that prior
That
to
seems
this.
to be what happened. Your neighbor's like, hey, could you watch my dog for a little bit? And then just died. Left off the face of the earth.
I don't remember that happening. Elsie, do you remember anything like that?
Okay, I'm sorry. Dad told me that you now have 3 dogs in your house. One of which you own. The other which is Brad's girlfriend's dog.
Yeah.
Okay, those are accounted for. And the third one is just some fucking chthonic creature that showed up in your fucking house that you cannot account for in any way.
Not quite. They literally asked us, hey, can you watch this dog for this time?
And we said yes because we have run into those people before. In fact, the guy stopped us in the street. His name is Jeremy. Jeremy stopped us in the street. We're walking Lily. He stops us in the street and says, hey, I like your dog. Our collie's good with kids. And we say, sure, they're great with kids. You should get your kid a collie if that's what you want to do. You won't regret it. Well, he goes and gets a fucking collie. And so now we run into these people on the street with their collie. And of course, we feel an obligation since we gave them that advice to get a collie. So they're religious people. I don't know how we run into these religious people, Nick. I really don't. They're wonderfully religious people, and they're going on some sort of church trip. Actually, that's not true, but he has gone on a church trip before. They're actually going on some bizarre family adventure. And they said, hey, can you watch our collie? How could we say no? We told you to get the collie.
When was this?
When was the request to watch the collie?
Yes. Like, how long have you had this dog, and how long, like, what is the term here?
This is the first full day we've had her.
Oh,
And it's for a week. I was asked to watch Lassie a week before we were asked to watch Daisy, the Lindig's dog. I had already told Lassie's parents, oh my gosh, I don't know. We got a house full. We got 4 cats. It's a little crazy. Good luck. But then your dad's like, oh, no, we'll definitely watch Daisy. So when he tells the Lindigs we'll watch Daisy, I was like, well, I feel like a dick not watching Lassie now if you're saying it's cool to watch Daisy. So I guess I'll tell Lassie's parents we can watch her.
Wait a minute.
Lassie is the one you have now.
Yeah,
Wait-
yeah.
wait a minute.
No. Because then I'm obligated to watch Daisy. And what does your dad decide to do? I'm going to go to fucking Omaha. Fuck you, bitch. You're watching Daisy.
Oh, okay. So you're running some kind of fucking dog hotel out of here. Are you charging for this?
No, it's all for free. So I got to watch Daisy while your dad hung out with you guys. And then we're now watching Lassie, and we're never going to watch another animal again as long as we live.
What Elsie just told you is that Lassie's presence today is my fault.
It's true.
Sure. I guess. That's really neither here nor there. The fault is on both of you for not at least securing some sort of payment. Or did you at least do like some kind of Godfather thing where you say, okay, yeah, but you owe me one now? There will come a day when I call upon you.
I did,
Do a
actually. Because they'd be like, oh, thanks so much. I was like, we like vacation too, so you're on warning.
Yeah, don't thank me, because this isn't just a favor.
You owe me now.
Well, I kind of did the opposite, though. I said as they were leaving, hey, look, everything's probably going to work out good. There's at least an 80% chance she survives. And it turns out they didn't find that funny.
Well, fuck them.
That's the same thing Elsie said.
They can eat a dick. Not every joke has been polished in the clubs yet. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then I Irish goodbyed them because they couldn't leave without the dog wanting to go with them. So I just took the dog and ran downstairs and was like, bye, bitches.
Yeah.
She didn't say a word to him. She just split with the dog.
Well,
Well,
in the gulag.
there is a doggy gulag that they brought with them. We can't stand. It's a cage. Oh, we crate her. I was expecting some sort of crate. It's just a fucking cage. That's all it is.
What did you think a crate was?
I thought it was a crate,
What?
wooden. I thought it was handcrafted wood.
Hay, yeah, hay or
Wow.
straw in there.
Yes, exactly.
You dumb.
I really had to make sure to keep in my head that story about the shit I wanted to grab out of the toilet, and that's pretty much all I have.
I see. That's
You
all
got your
have
dick in
left.
one hand and shit in another.
Yeah, a dick and balls in one hand because it fits in one hand, and a log of shit in the other. Potentially, it was kind of a Schrodinger's log of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Before I got up and looked at it, it existed in this liminal space of either just tiny little goat pellets or a huge graspable log.
For sure. You didn't know.
Before you are certain, it's both and none of those things at the same time, which is the beauty of quantum physics.
It's a classic quantum turd.
The quantum shit. It's fun. It's a fun thought experiment for the kids.
Rather than grabbing the turd right out of the toilet, you can imagine any potential state that the shit can be in until you reach in and grab it and confirm.
Sometimes your mind plays tricks on you and you almost can see a little grip like would be on a pistol on that piece of shit. But, for your hand, and you think, well, my body made it. Surely my hand is meant to grasp it in this grip that my own anus made.
In my likeness and image.
And then as you go back and forth with yourself over this, you look at the clock, you realize it's 4:30 a.m. I've been in this bathroom staring at this shit for 6.5 hours.
Oh, it happens all the time.
And then you just go to sleep in the bathtub, naked, without wiping.
Not seen that, but I have seen somebody piss in a refrigerator.
Well, that's gross. I saw someone piss down a flight of stairs once and then get real mad. We were like, you just pissed down the stairs. He's like, no, I didn't. We're like, yes, you did. What do you think all this piss is? And he's like, if I did that, you should just kill me. We're like, dude, you did that. Like, you did that. I just watched you do it.
Yeah, it
It was
happens.
fun.
Back in my drinking days, I urinated on someone's dining room chair thinking that I was in a bathroom somehow.
Nice.
And then the fellow that I was at, his house, he was married, his wife came out and said, Pete, what the hell are you doing? She talked just like that.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
like,
that's it. She didn't beat your ass.
She didn't slap you upside the head or assault you with a rolling pin or frying pan or.
No, but it sobered me right up. And what I did was I pinched it off and zipped up real quick. And I said, oh, Shirley, I'm really sorry. Her name was Shirley. That's why I said that. I said, I'll clean this up right away. She said, you better. Because she talked like that. And then she got me a mop and some spick
Now,
and span.
mop
Story
this
gets very
chair.
boring.
Well, it was a plastic-covered chair, so it kind of splattered all over the kitchen.
Nice.
Well, the dining room. It was a trailer house, so it was kind of a combined kitchen-dining room situation.
Sure.
I have a lot of classy experiences like that I could tell you about.
Sure. I
Tell
do
us
too.
another.
Tell you another?
Yeah.
One time, my buddy and I were at a club in Marquette, Michigan, called The Alibi. It's where you went to get laid, if you could stay sober enough, and I rarely could. I was always so drunk there. But somehow my buddy and I ended up at some girlfriends of his who had dentures, but that didn't bother me any. Anyway, one thing led to another, and I felt ashamed.
What do you mean by that?
By shame, I felt...
Could I get some more explicit details, please?
Yeah, what? Did you get a blowjob and then you
From
felt
a
bad
person?
about it? I mean,
Yeah,
I'd
did-
imagine that's like the dream.
No.
Did you get sucked by a person with no teeth, yes or no?
No.
Oh.
What happened was this. She's in this filthy place. I'm drunk as a lord, sitting in some sort of easy chair. He says to her, hey, Dolores, let's go get a nap. That's what he says. Let's go have a nap. And
What are you, 8 years old and he's your fucking babysitter with his girlfriend over?
no, man, it ain't like that at all. Dolores is kind of a whore. So he brought her something to drink, and she drank that, and she said, okay. And then she laid down on whatever filthy bed she was, and then he goes at her. And then after he does, he says, hey, Pete, it's your turn.
Oh.
And I say, hey, Dolores, you don't have to do that. She goes, oh, no, it's fine.
Okay, she was the way you phrase that, it's like he gave her something to drink. She
Like-
passed out on the bed.
Oh, no. She was very much awake.
Frighteningly so.
I kind of wish she wasn't quite
Shockingly
so much.
yeah. So
Had this wild look in her eyes.
I don't know if I should share that publicly, but that happened.
Hey,
So-
we've all had experiences with toothless people.
Have we all? What's yours, Nick?
I mean, yeah, I know plenty of people whose teeth are who have less teeth than do. They're closer to having no teeth than having a full mouth of teeth.
Sure.
You
Are
know?
these meth addicts?
maybe former meth addicts. Some of them were definitely meth addicts at the time. Yeah. But sometimes some of the methiest people turned out to be the most morally upstanding ones, you know? There's this guy, he's dead as a doornail now. Well, no one listens to this. His name was Derek Traub. Big, fat motherfucker who did a lot of meth and drank a lot and a whole bunch of shit. Big, creepy motherfucker. But I go over to this person's house we were staying out with. Now, some of these people are still alive, so I'm going to leave the names out. But there's this girl who just kept popping out kids on the regs. 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid from all different guys. And she did not give a stone cold fuck about any of them. I remember walking up to this person. She lived there with her 2 brothers, who one of them is now deceased also. And there was just no one there. It's just those. I think it was only 2 at the time. One barely old enough to walk, and the other one couldn't. It was just a baby. And I go up there, and it's just Derek Trop there. Because, people would congregate there. I was expecting to run into somebody there to hang out, do hooligan shit. And Derek Trop's there, and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey, what's up, Trop? And he's like, hey, man, there's no one here with these kids, and I'm trying to go home. So can you, keep an eye on these kids? Because I don't want to I can't just fucking leave these children here. And I'm like, I guess, dude, I'm a babysitter today. Where are these children's parents, When, of course, you don't even want to know. So he left, and I watched the kids till somebody else, some other stranger who was neither of the children's parents showed up, and, I tagged out. But I was like, wow, that was nice of that fat meth head Trop to, give a shit about these kids,
I don't think that means he's, among the most morally upstanding, though.
Of the pool of meth heads in that town.
That's fair. Fair.
It just goes to show you, Nick, I sure raised you to hang around with quality people.
Everybody who had a hand in raising me tried their best. They said the things that they thought they should say. And maybe those were the things they should have said. But, I kind of had my own thing going on. And I, from an early age, was like, these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And then I got older, and I was like, they do know what they're talking about. And now I'm older, and I'm like, no, they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. It goes back and forth.
I understand. Sure came full circle on that one. Where am I at currently in that? Am I currently in the I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, or do I know what the fuck I'm talking about?
Sometimes you do.
It's situational.
About certain things you do, yeah.
Like, name one.
Bureaucratic processes, technical stuff, World War II.
You never know when that's going to be clutch.
Shit-ass kids. That's about it.
Yeah, I got it. Well, name one thing I am totally off base on.
Anything regarding my body or my behavior or any problems that I have in my life, you're very quick to assign those to certain elements that are just all wrong all the time. But that's okay, because it's not just you, it's everyone in my family. Now, if Sarah were here, she would not even let me finish this sentence, but everyone in my family hates when I'm right. They do. I realize that as I get older. You all, and by you all, I don't mean you, Elsie, because,
Thank you.
You didn't watch me grow up to be a fucking hellion, but everyone hates it when I'm right.
I think a sad or happy reality is that had I known you when you were a hellion, I probably would have been inclined to be like, yeah, let's go fuck shit up. I would have been a bad stepmom for you at the time.
Yeah, it's all right. I've had plenty of those. Just kidding. These are jokes. Hey, these are jokes. It's comedy. It's a comedy podcast. I'm a professional comedian. Hey, have you watched Bo Burnham's new special?
No, is it good?
Dude, it's fucking crazy. It's really good. I wouldn't even really call it a comedy.
What would you call it?
I mean, it's funny, but it's really dark.
Oh, really? I'll have to check it out. Speaking of things that are enjoyable but are also a little dark, The Bad Batch.
Some moments echo throughout the galaxy.
Execute Order 66.
Wars rage. Empires rise.
The Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire!
But this is the journey of an unlikely few. Meet the Bad Batch. A ragtag band of clones struggles for survival.
Knife!
And their choices will determine their fate in a dangerous new galaxy.
Direct hit!
I've started watching that, and it's good. I really like it.
Is it a kid show? Is it a fucking TVY7? What are we talking about here?
It's a kid's show in the same way that the Clone Wars was. Lots of people getting shot, civilians being massacred.
People being shitted on and shitted in.
It's quite violent, but at the same time, it's Star Wars. It's really classical Star Wars, and you get filled in on a lot that happened in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars, which is fun.
So it takes place right after the Clone Wars. Or
Immediate.
it takes place right after Order 66.
That's right. Actually, Order 66 is in the first episode.
Okay. I assume this is about some clones who are able to resist the effects of Order 66.
That's correct. The Bad
And that's
Batch.
that's why they're the Bad Batch. Yeah.
Exactly. Clone Force 99. They were the Bad Batch before because they were badass.
Why don't they have the genetic implants in them that make them follow Order 66?
They do. However, because of their genetic mutations, which made them stronger in some ways, like there's one who's called Wrecker, who's a big beefy guy, and one called Tech, who's super smart, and one called Hunter, who's a super good tracker and has spidey senses. Well, those genetic mutations weakened the inhibitor chip, you see.
Oh, it's an inhibitor chip.
That's what it is.
Like a piece of hardware.
That's right. Every clone had one in their noggin.
I thought it was like some sort of genetic or maybe even force type. I don't fucking know.
You clearly didn't watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I started watching it, but it's tough to get through those first couple of seasons.
That's true. You should just skip all that and just go straight to season 7.
But I like Darth Maul, and I know Darth Maul comes back in that shit.
Yeah, well, Darth Maul's in season 7. He plays a huge role.
Isn't he in other seasons before that?
He is. He's in he emerges, I believe, in season 4.
Darth Maul's the coolest, one of the coolest Sith ever shown in the movies.
And he's super cool after he gets rescued. They don't make very clear how it is that he survived Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Which is a little annoying.
It is. And the reality is that when they find him, he has clearly been cut in half because his bottom half is some cybernetic eldritch horror.
Well, I guess the first Star Wars movie, the first chronological Star Wars movie, chronological to the universe, not actual time, was a disgrace and a disaster and on every level. It's what I heard. I saw it, but I was a kid when the Phantom Menace came out. I thought it was cool as fuck.
Well, sure it was. I took you to it. I thought it was pretty cool.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
Begin landing your troops. Always two there are, a master and an apprentice. Wipe them out. All of them.
It was a revolutionary CGI.
It was, and I thought it was a fine movie. Did I think it was as good as the first trilogy? Not at all. But I was entertained. You were entertained. It was a great movie for a Saturday afternoon. I don't think it's fair, all of these expectations that people have put on George Lucas to produce a masterpiece every time he shows up. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It was a good piece of Saturday afternoon fluff. You were 7 when it came out. You were entertained. Actually, you were younger than that. 99, shit, you were 3 years old.
Is that when it came out?
Yeah, it came out in 99.
I was young when we watched the third one in theaters.
That's right, because that came out when you were 7.
But all three were like cutting edge CGI. And they kind of a little bit holds up today. A little bit.
I think it was a fine movie for what it was. But, that being said, The Bad Batch is better. The Bad Batch, and the later seasons especially of the Clone Wars, far superior to the original trilogy, in my opinion.
It depends on what you're coming to Star Wars for. What are you coming to watch this shit for? I'm coming to watch the lightsabers and the Jedi and the Sith, the lightning out of the hands and choking people without using your hands.
Well, if you're coming for that, then you're disappointed in The Bad Batch.
Although The Mandalorian had none of that.
And you enjoyed it, right?
Well, not very, very fucking little of it, and it was great. That was just good directing and soundtrack and camera work, all of that.
I think you'd be very impressed with The Bad Batch. I think you should check it out.
So, wait, so you finished regular Clone Wars now?
Yes, that's been done for some time.
So, have you watched the second season of The Mandalorian, or what?
No, I gave up on watching TV after that. I was done for a while. I kind of don't like to watch TV in the summer so much.
After the Clone Wars, you gave up on watching TV. That's how bad it was.
No. It's just it was 7 or 8 fucking seasons. So yeah, as soon as I can't enjoy being outdoors anymore in the evenings, we're going to pick up The Mandalorian.
Season 2 is so good, dude. So good. Also, well, you guys have seen The Boys.
Of course.
Yeah, man.
Great. We started watching that again just for funsies. Jensen Ackles going to be in the next season.
Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy. I didn't read anything about in the Wikipedia when I went ahead and read everything about the original comics on the Wikipedia.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I know how the comics end. Like, for example, my buddy bought me the first issue, the first volume of Invincible, the first comic.
Sure.
And I read it. A lot of shit happens out of order, and some shit is not as big a deal, and some shit is. Like, what happens at the end of the first episode of Invincible, spoilers, where he fucking destroys the Guardians of the Globe, that does not happen, like, at all in the first issue of the comic book.
In other words, these shows are simply based on the comics, and one would have to actually read the comics to know the source material well enough.
And honestly, like, the show is better.
Well, great.
There's a picture of the entire compendium. Like, the series Invincible is finished now. And how much the first season covered is, I would say, like 1/16 of the total compendium of Invincible.
Good. Well, I hope there's a lot more to come.
The creator said it would take 7 seasons to encompass all of it. Of course, that's what you would say, when you sign the deal, right?
Just like this. By the way, should we call this our first episode of the new season?
Sometime recently, you tried to pull that shit, and I think Nick vetoed you, but I'm not sure.
Let's call it season 69, episode 420.
I like it.
In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to call it. That'll be hilarious.
Well, yeah, it would have been until you said that.
I'll cut all
Now
that
it's
out.
not. Now you ruined it. You understand?
Don't worry, I'll cut all that out.
All right.
He's a professional ruiner.
Ruiner. You know what? I stank like shit before I took my walk. Now I stink like doo-doo feces.
Well, time to hit the showers.
Group hug in the showers tonight. I'm listening to Wrath of the Khans for the 3rd time in a row while I, take these walks.
Oh, that's cool. He's got a new episode out now called Supernova in the East. He does a great job of the...
Those have been out for a while.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's done a new episode of Supernova in the East.
And you've watched them all?
No, haven't watched a single one.
You're going to like it.
True lame story. I gotta get the fuck up out of here. I gotta go bake a cake.
I'd like a fucking cake, dude. I haven't had cake in so long.
That's very good.
You know what else I haven't had in so long? Fucking ice cream. You know how many times on this very show we ended the show with Sarah being like, let's go get some ice cream.
Yes.
And then we never did. Never did.
Sad.
Sonic's closed, the fucking power's out. And so I never got it. And then I went on a diet. You know what I mean? And now I'm never going to get it.
So sorry.
Denied.
Never's a long time, son. Diets.
Denied my rightful ice cream.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
All right, bye.
A Shin Show is a production of Shinfluence. It features the voices and opinions of the Shin family, which are entirely and exclusively their own. Join us each week on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks as always to our regular listeners. We love to hear from you. Please email us at ashinshow@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.